Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Broya StarCraft StarCast. Today we'll be featuring a game between the Zerg player aAaMiNiMaTh and the Protoss player kiljardi. I'll just probably call him Kill and Mini, just because that's easier. So right here we have Zerg in the top right position versus Protoss in the bottom left position. On the map, almost called the core hall, this is in fact Cloud Kingdom LE minus the Space Shark, so that's how you know it's the latter version. So right here we have a normal build from both players. I expect a Forge Fast Expand. That's a weird pylon position, to be honest. I guess he's going to try and wall here. Generally you want the pylon at the part of your wall here or back here so you can make a wall here. But I am expecting a Forge Fast Expand. It's pretty standard on this map. Obviously, maybe not Nexus, because this is fairly short rush distance, and there's no ramp that you can really force field. So, probably Forge first, just to be safe. And from the Zerg player, probably Pool before Gas, you know, just standard. Don't expect anything really crazy, but we'll see. Obviously, this is a great map for I like to say it's a great map for Zerg late game, because you can really, it's so easy to shut down this Protoss third since you have 3 entrances you have to worry about, and if you go for a fourth, well, it's just so wide open. And if you go for this as a third and fourth, again, it's so wide open. Meanwhile, Zerg can just put ancillary expansions either top right or top left and bottom right, I should say. And as we see, the Zerg is going for the 15 pool, just doing standard, pumping out more drones. Obviously a little worried of a cannon rush, and he hasn't scouted the Protoss base yet, but it does look like a Forge first. I really don't understand this wall. I guess he's gonna just make a gateway here and finish the wall, and then this should be the Zealot part of the wall, which the drone is gonna scout right now and probably try and throw on a hatch right away. But yeah, it's just a little strange wall position, but I guess it'll work for him. Looks like, yeah, the toss is gonna get the. I'm really disappointed that this drone wasn't blocking the Nexus position, but it looks like he let that Nexus go down. Looks like the Protoss is gonna try and just delay. Oh, or not. Thought he was gonna maybe drop a pylon, delay the hatch, but we do see a queen is on the way as well as the spawning pool up, so Zerglings could just clean up any pylon that comes by. So, you know, all in all, fair trade. Yeah, okay, the gateway. I was gonna say, if he tries to wall off here, that's the stupidest wall off I've ever seen. But to each his own. And he's gonna get the Nexus up before the Zerg's hatchery. So, with 1 gas on the way, and the Zerg is gonna be able to scout this if he moves over a little. But nope, pulling probes off the line to take down drone. Really not the most optimal thing, but who knows. Yeah, and 2 gas, so Zerg will scout that. See, everything's normal, nothing funky like a straight 5 gate off of this or something. Meanwhile, Zerg is not added gas yet. I guess he's gonna possibly go for a faster. Yes, there's the faster. So, kind of a ballsy move, but he can get away with it considering the build the Protoss player is doing right now. With the gate down, I expect to see a Cyber. Yep, there we go. Again, I really can't say too much because nothing's happening. But I would guess this is generally not a muta play. I would guess roaches, possibly in the roach infester. Just the late gas kind of lends itself for that. And obviously, like I said, this is a late game Zerg map. They just have so much oops. Besides the fact that they had the timer up, that will show you that it's a longer game. But this is so easy for Zerg to just keep expanding. Meanwhile, the Protoss player is looking for any hidden expansions and should be able to see this third. Although these 2 wings are positioned to take it out. It'll be interesting to see what the tech path Protoss player. Oh, only 2 in each gas. That's really not that beneficial. But it'll be interesting to see which tech path he chooses. Flavor of the month right now is to open Stargate just to get map control and shut down thirds into maybe. Well, it depends on what you see. You could drop another Stargate, go double Stargate to deal with any muta harassment and with double Phoenix production, I should say. And then if he goes a ground army, you could just instantly go on the Robo. And it looks like this drone still hasn't been killed off, and I question why he throws down the 3 gates here and a 4th gate. Okay, this is starting to look like the Void Ray build, but I really don't understand the 2 in gas. You really don't get that many more minerals with just 2 probes, and not to mention that, I don't know, Toss really doesn't need minerals, so I'm not quite sure what he's prioritizing here. And he does save the drone, or the probe, while he has scouted the third. Yes, he has. With the massive transfer coming over, and then the double gas and roach horn. Okay, stay in. I was going to say, that'd be pretty risky if he was going to stay on links for so long. +1 Evo chamber. I'd like to see 2, just because you're going to... Roaches are so gaslight, and since he's not... Okay, never mind, he is on 3 gas. I was going to say, if he's staying on 2 gas, he's really got nothing better to do with the gas, but 3 gas indicates a lot of roaches. It looks like this drone is going to scout the 4 gases. Pretty standard. You really can't conclude anything, especially on 4 gate. And since he hasn't thrown down... I'm really surprised he hasn't thrown down a tech building yet. He's floating 700 middle. Okay, there's the robo, but that still doesn't really excuse floating this much. Unless he has a proxy pylon, which I did miss. That's very smart. He's going to be able to pressure... Is he going to be able to pressure the natural? I'd like to see that one zealot go up while these 4 zealots go into the third. And it looks like they're going to be going after the queen. Might be able to pick off this queen. He does have a... Ooh, no, Eclipse cracks, and he's only at 8 HP, but the roaches are coming in to clean up the zealots. Nice micro to pull back the 1 weak zealot. I'm surprised the zealot is going in right now. Yes, it is. And it looks like he is able to get a couple of drone kills, but it looks like overall these roaches will be able to clean up the zealots. And if he keeps pulling the zealots back this way, he will be able to clean up the proxy pylon. But it looks like this zealot is only going to be able to get a couple of drone kills. I believe only got 1, and it looks like the pressure has been cleaned up. In the end, they were all 6 kills. That's not bad for the Protoss player. Pretty decent for only, well, for the zealot count. And it looks like the Zerg is going to try and establish map control to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. Keep in mind, he did not scout this proxy pylon, nor did the Protoss player make any warp-ins after, as he is. He did have +1, yes he did, as he was able to warp in 4 sentries since he knows pressure's coming. And going to double robo with Immortal and Twilight Council. See, the reason I don't like this play is because obviously Immortals are great units, but once you get to a certain point, which is just about now, because the drone count is going to be on 65, and as the Zerg's looking for a 4th base, you really need to get a Colossus ball going, because this amount of roaches and lings is just going to grow exponentially. So you really need that AoE to take it down. And unless he's going High Templar, which really isn't too effective against roaches, because I expect a blink build, or actually maybe +2 upgrades he's going for. But you really want that high-tech unit, that really, you know, that AoE unit coming out of the Colossus. The double robo really doesn't provide for you. And it doesn't look like the Protoss player's looking to take a 4. Is he taking a 3rd? I'm not sure which way this probe's going, but since this proxy pylon is cleaned up, he does have to make a new one. And with his army in the middle of the map, it looks like Zerg player is going to know it's coming. And he drops down this pylon within range of the roaches, yes. But it looks like the Zerg player is scrambling and rearrange his forces, so he's not going to notice that. You see 15 roaches were on the way, 10 now, coming out to deal with this impending threat. But the Zerg player is going to be on 6 gases, and behind this he should be able to make a huge tech switch, possibly straight into Hive and Muta. He does have Lair, I believe. Yes, he does have Lair with the double upgrades, as I said. But he's only on 0-0 going into 1-1, while the Protoss is on 1-1 with... No, he hasn't used that Twilight Council. Beautiful force fields, though, cracking half the army. These Zealots are doing a massive job of tanking. It looks like he'll be able to cut off another half of these units. These Mortals in the back are doing a lot of damage. The sentry count has not been diminished in any way possible, and he has plenty of force field energy left. It looks like he is going to be able to push forward, possibly another force field. I'd like to see one more force field. Okay, no, he's going to use Guardian Shield, which obviously helps a lot against any ranged unit. Only picks off 1 roach there, but he makes sure that he can't crash down the ramp, so he's going to have a slight position. I don't agree with this idea to move up the ramp, especially leading with the sentry and stalkers, so the Zealots in the back, but it looks like he's going to push forward, a couple more sentries, and he should be able to force it off. He's doing a brilliant job focusing. No, he stops focusing the Immortal, and all the sentries live. No, why is there player? It looks like these Immortals are going to have free reign to demolish these roaches, especially with this nice little wall off here. He's got to be careful though. He is leading with the Immortal, never really a good decision. And he looks like another pylon has been set up, and Blink has just now started with +2. 1 Immortal was taken down, but for what cost of roaches, and this 3rd will definitely go down. And if he's not paying attention, he can trap all these. The drones are going to escape. I wish he would have been able to catch those. 15 more roaches on the way. In addition with these, I don't like the Protoss position. You really should back up. With all these roaches popping, he's going to be sandwiched, right? Not maybe sandwiched, but he's going to have a massive force in front of him. It looks like he's Oh, and he's going to be focusing on the immortals. If the Protoss player loses these without this double immortal robo production, I don't agree with this decision. He should have really backed up a long time ago, especially with Blink not done. He's going to sack all these forces for the sake of 1/3 while he's not making his own third. And he's floating so many Merles that, oh, looks like, actually, wow, Zerg player should not have pulled back there. He should have finished off these Stalkers while he has a chance. If he could take out whatever's left, because this is all of the Protoss army, to be honest. If he can just take out this army, he can take a third, take a fourth, have complete map control, and nothing to worry about. Looks like 2 macro hatches are on the way for the Zerg player. His macro is really not that bad. I don't know why he feels the need for the extra larva, especially since he re-expands the third, and he should be thinking about a fourth. Observers in a strange position doesn't even see the hatch. So in that attack, looks like 5 workers were killed, so nothing really major. Especially the 1 round of drones is going to make up for more than enough. One thing I do have to say is the creep threat hasn't been too fantastic from the Zerg player, but it looks like he was trying to play a turtley upgrade style, so he only really wanted to stay in this base area, so he didn't need to expand outward. Meanwhile, the toss is taking a third base. And it looks like the Zerg player is going for a counterattack. He will be able to scout this proxy pylon, but this Zealot's going to give enough warning for the Protoss army to muster up good defense. Looks like he's going back into immortal production. He should have really done this earlier. Oh, and he was not had the forefront to unsupply block himself. He's got to be really careful with his position because Zerg player has really 2 options, 3 if you count this opening, to go up, and you can really only put your army at 1 at a time. It's really tough to split up a sentry based army because it's just they're so time dependent that once you run out of force fields you need all your sentries available. But it looks like the Zerg player is making 12 more drones, so I don't agree with that unless he's taking, yes, okay, never mind, since he's taking the 4th, but his main's almost mined out, so he should have been thinking a little harder than that. Looks like the Zerg player is going to be scouted, but he's going to push forward. Oh, Protoss player needs to pull back. He needs to pull back up the ramp. I don't know what he's doing engaging in the midfield. Looks like the Zerg player is going to come crashing down. He needs some good force field. Average force field is going to lose all the sentries for the cost of a couple of lings, but looks like these roaches. Oh, and he does a blink. Ooh, beautiful observer timing. It just had that waiting there, even though the burrow was available. And looks like with some good blink stalkers, you should be able to pull back with all that micro and save just about every unit. Big round of Zealots. I don't really agree with the Zealots. He had more than enough stalkers to take on this army. Should have refreshed with some sentries perhaps. But it looks like he's going to push forward, maybe take out all these roaches if the Zerg player doesn't notice that the observer's not with the army. He's going to pull back as fast as he can, but 30 roaches on this way. And +1 ground attack. I don't really agree with that. I don't know why. Unless he's going for a Ling Muta composition, which he's clearly not. He's staying on tier 2 for far too long. Or tier 1, I should say. I forget roaches being so powerful in tier 1. Anyway, he's staying on his tech so long, but it looks like, oh, he does have pathogen events on the way, which means we're going to see infestors, which is really good for dealing with this army, just locking down blink stalkers, obviously zealots since you can't attack if they're out of range, and it just sets itself up well for, I should say, blink stalk. No, not blink stalker. Broodlord. I knew it started with a B. Blink stalkers are, yeah, out in the field for the Protoss, I should say. Looks like the Zerg player is going to try and pull up the ramp. I don't really agree with this, especially without burrow movement. But it looks like he's making it work for him, picking off a few sentries and pulling back with half his army. Maybe he's looking to free up some supply, but I don't think this early. He really should just pull back right now. He knows the toss is only on 2 bases since the main is almost mined out. But it looks like he's pushing forward, and actually, no. These upgrades are really doing a benefit for the roaches. It looks like they should be able to clean up these blink stalkers if he micros correctly. But with all these zealots, again, he's making zealots to deal with roaches, which really isn't the best decision, especially without charge, seeing as roaches just one-shot zealots. And with blink stalkers, you have at least a chance for micro. Zealots, you're just throwing against the meat shield, and he has more than enough gas. Although he's going charge, I'm really surprised he's not going into Colossus production. And given his vision of the Zerg base, he knows infestors are on the way, and the counter to infestor is Colossus. So it's really mind-boggling that he would go for such a zealot stalker style of play. So it looks like the Zerg player is actually setting up a 5th base with a Warp Prism on the way. It should do a lot of damage, seeing as this base is completely undefended. And we see a Fleet Beacon on the way. So I guess the Protoss player is trying to do a gateway mothership play, but I don't understand what he thinks because the point in the mothership is for an Archon toilet, but he doesn't have any Archons, and you can't deal with like a late game Zerg army, especially infestors, with just gateway units. And even if the Zerg player added a few Hydras, I should say, it would completely demolish this army with no AoE and no real way to deal with them. But it looks like the infestation pit's going to be caught, which means there's going to be no tech to hide, which means no broodlords. But it looks like we're going to see a fungal. No, he's going to. I guess he's going to save the fungal. I don't really agree with that. He's got nothing better to do with the energy, and he didn't actually kill any workers there, so it's still looking in favor for the Zerg. And he's got a nice bank. I just wish he was teching up a little faster. Looks like the Protoss player is going for the mothership with the Templar Archives a little late, so I guess he is going to try to go for the Archons in the Archon toilet, I should say. But he still hasn't taken a 4th, and his resource count is really low, especially after sinking 400. It's 400. Yeah, 400 into a mothership. So we'll see if he's able to do anything with it, but with the Zerg army pushing out right now, and such a meager Protoss army, with more Zealots, I don't understand how he thinks Zealots are to counter the Roaches, especially with this horrible position of Zealots behind the army. I really should cancel that cannon. Oh yeah, he gets it at the last second. But this many Infestors, if he catches the Protoss army off guard, Fungals are just going to be the death. He really shouldn't push up this ramp, but he's going to do so anyway. I don't think he has burrow movement at all, so he's not going to be able to push up here. But he does have range enough for Fungals, which takes out all the sentries, sans 3. So as long as the Zerg player loses a couple of Infestors and chooses to make Infested Terrans, it does have enough energy for a couple more Fungals, but it looks like he will be able to clean up the Toss army. Yeah, I believe so, especially with all these infested Terrans, if he target fires correctly. Their duration is about half over, so he needs to be very careful and very efficient in making this army go. It looks like he will clean up the entire Toss army, and with this mothership just about out, it's going to be sitting over nothing, especially with a 50 supply lead for the Zerg player. I really hope he's not streaming in Lings right now, because he knows his entire army is gone except these infestors, and Lings will do nothing to, wow. Sorry, I'm just really caught off guard as to why he's making 5 queens right now. He's got more than enough larvae, I would assume, with all these macro hatches. Unless, where are his queens? I guess he lost them all in that drop, but wow, it's pretty odd that he lost all his queens to Zealots. Now, this is. The Protoss player is going for Archons and Storm, but he's making all his High Templar into Archons, which means he has nothing left for Storm. And considering that the Zerg player is just now teching up the Hive, I'm not quite sure that the Protoss player is going to be able to deal with this, because he's got no army. If you look at his army tab, he's got... well, I guess Archons count for a lot of that, but he's got really nothing comparatively to the Zerg army, who's going to be going into Broodlords, yes, with double upgrade, or only one upgrade because he needs one to turn into Greater Spire. But I'm really scared. Oh, looks like a Zealot drop. Didn't miss this. All these proxy pylons still haven't been scouted out. Oh, and he is going to finish that. But yeah, especially since the Protoss player is going into armor upgrades for Archons and Immortals, it's really a questionable decision. So shield upgrades really help the hardened shields. People don't seem to realize they help the hardened shields go down to 9 damage, which is huge. They take an extra hit from all these roaches and everything else, so it's really a big deal for them. And obviously Archons are purely shields, so you don't want to have their shield damage reduced as much as possible. With only 127 supply off basically 1 base 6 gas, but these guys are going to mine out soon, so 1 base 4 gas. I really don't know if the Protoss player is going to have enough for this, especially since he's forced the long distance mine from this 4th. Looks like the Zerg player is pushing out. He really needs a better army comp than Ling Roach. And since he is going the Greater Spire, he really should be looking to free up some supply. And the Greater Spire's just started, but he's pumping out more Roaches to deal with this army that's at his front door. And I don't think he has any Overseers, so this Mothership could actually do a bit of cloaking. But it looks like the Frost player is pushing in the Zerg third. Looks like he is going to be able to take this down with ease. Get some huge feedbacks on the infestors, and with this Zerg in position, he's going to be able to see the entire Zerg army coming for him. He really shouldn't have wasted all those feedbacks though, because all these infested Terrans are so susceptible to storms. Oh, but it looks like some storms are going down. They're really not that effective going on top of all the Roaches. Beautiful vortex coming down, but it only catches the infested Terrans. Looks like this is great army position for the Zerg. For a pro, I should say, especially since the Zerg is forced to fungal and he's out of fungals, so it looks like he won't be able to reveal this army. The Archon Toilet's kind of an effect, but Archons don't do too much against Roaches. However, with all the Vortex being comprised mainly of infested Terrans, they just melt and just go out of duration for one, and then looks like the Archons were able to do enough splash damage to take him out. Looks like the Zerg army is really meager right now. The late tech to Hive, it's a questionable decision, especially with such late Broodlords that can only come out now. And he's only got 6 Corruptors on the way. He's not really going to be able to deal with this that well, but he does have 4,000 gas banked up, so he will be able to make a lot of Broodlords once he gets his entire Corruptor count up. But as the toss is taking the 4th and took such a huge battle, I didn't think he would be able to take that so easily. I guess the Vortex just really segmented the army in half, and the lack of vision, I should say, was also a big deal because the Zerg player just never had vision on that Mothership, and really hurt him in the end. Looks like the Zerg player is pushing towards the middle with all his Corruptors. Looks like he's foregoing Broodlords for now because he's so worried about that Mothership, but he doesn't really have a good way to take out this army unless he gets a lot of fungals, and this one infestor is going to get picked off, and I don't think he has any infestors left in the field. No infestors left in the field, so he's hoping he can just take out this Mothership with the Corruptors, and with this army on the bottom, 2 Immortals and plenty of Storm energy on the way. I just don't see the Zerg player taking this, and it's just shocking to me. He had such an advantage on so high bases. But it looks like a Vortex is coming down, and he is able to segment the army in half. With some Blink Stalker might go, he should be able to be completely safe. It looks like Archon Toilet is in effect, and the Zerg player has all his Corruptors in here, so if he can get a good splash damage, especially with all these Blink Stalkers. Oh, but it looks like the Archon was focused on the Roaches, did not really touch these Corruptors, and the Zerg army escapes very luckily with its life. Looks like 7 more infestors on the way as a new base going up for the Zerg player. He really should re-expand here as well, since he knows that the Protoss army is really immobile and can only hit one position at a time. But it looks like the Protoss army is content to push to what he thinks is the 4th. Well, he'll see. So long distance binding drones, excuse me, and should be suspicious of another base on this side because Zerg on only one base of minerals right now. It's really suspicious as to how he can support his army if you're from the Protoss perspective. So it looks like the Protoss player has clawed his way back into it. I'll admit I was really doubting it because he was on, I guess in part because he had such good upgrades, and in part because the Zerg player really such a late tech switch the Broodlords. I mean, this tech switch, it's at 32 minutes. This should have come at 18 minutes. And he's just now getting out his Broodlords. And he doesn't have the Corruptor count to deal with this Mothership, nor does he have really the good ground army. He's got a lot of supplies stuck in Lings right now, and Lings will do nothing to this ground army. With Blink Stalkers and Archons and Storms, just not going to do anything. Looks like the Protoss army has figured out where the 5th base of the Zerg is, and is only going to send us a couple Blink Stalkers. Very smart decision. He is going to push forward, seize the Broodlords. He does get a couple of units caught off guard, including a High Templar, which is not really good, but one Storm does soften up the Zerg army quite a bit, and the Protoss Mothership has enough energy for a Vortex and almost has enough energy for 2. But it looks like these 2 Stalkers are doing a fair amount of damage to this 5th base. It looks like the Zerg army has had enough and is gonna, he's indecision. He was gonna go for the 5th, but now it looks like he sees an opportunity, and oh, so many Broodlords get caught off guard, and it looks like he's gonna try and force in the Archon Toilet. Yes, he does. And I think that's about 4 Archons. He's going to instantly kill these Broodlords. And if he can bait these Broodlords into the Vortex like he's trying to do right now, look at that, more sucked in. Looks like these 3 Broodlords are going to go down right away. Some big storms over the army. Like to see some blinks into the Broodlords, but it looks like a lot of storms. A lot of storms are doing a lot of damage to the army. And he's got a big warping of Stalkers right now. However, these Corruptors are about to, no, they were taken out. So it looks like this Mothership is fairly safe until it gets taken out by Infested Terrans, of course. And it actually looks like, no, the Toss player is going to lose. He blinked. He just didn't have enough of a base army to take out this many Broodlords, and he's going to have to sack this 5th base. This AoE. Oh, another thing I want to point out is that the AoE from these Broodlings was just doing massive amounts of damage. 3/3 upgrades? You got to be kidding me. It's so much damage to the Zoss army, and he had no AoE besides a couple of storms, but the storms were used on the Broodlords and on the Roaches. They were not used on the Broodlings, and they were just tearing up the Stalker count. This is why you need to have a nice Colossus count when you go up for this kind of army composition. And he needs to pull these drones back. He needs to know this base is just foobar, especially when he's 40 supply down, and most of that is in workers. You have 29 supply to 86. The Zerg player can just warp, bring in whatever he wants, and just be able to win the game. Looks like this 5th base was taken out, but a lot of the drones were able to be saved. The Zerg army is going to crash into this 5th right now. Or I should say 4th, this was the 5th. But the cannons mean nothing. The probes are going to have to be pulled, and I think this is GG. He's going to have no economy left after this. Look at this, 17 probes. Yeah, this is it. The Toss army just, he had such a good advantage after such a disadvantage, and it's just, it's a shame to see this kind of game go down where the Toss army had such an potential in this fight right here, but just no real AoE to take out those Broodlings, and the Stalkers melted instantly. So that's going to do it for this cast. I'll see you all in the next game.